Do you want to ask your favorite player a question after their match? Or get their in-game settings? The Fan Zone encompasses fan banners, a player settings channel, and a lot more. Here's how you can join to gain access to interact with fellow fans, cheer on your favorite team. Firstly, join the Discord at pks.gg/discord. Select NA Challengers Fan Zone. Pick your favorite team from the drop-down menu. And don't forget to show off that banner in Discord and on your socials. And that's it. You're in. You can now interact with fellow fans, ask player questions, and rep your team properly.
G2 finally find a win on Split here, as they have struggled across the last few weeks on a map that was their bread and butter going back to the first Split and the mid-season face-off. Welcome back to the Analyst Disc here. We just watched G2 tie things up at 1 apiece against Shopify Rebellion after a strong win here on Split. It was still close. I feel like it's important to note it was a 13-10 victory, so it's a little bit shy of the wins we've seen from them in the past where they were crushing the opposition. Teams like Oxygen and Moist Moguls were losing to them 13-4, 13-3, 13-5. Obviously, this is much closer, but it's later in the season. We are in the playoffs, and all stops are being brought out. But I have to say, Roy, one of the things I loved, we got to see Penny on Jett, something we've been wanting to see all season long. And we haven't seen that since June of last year when he played with V1.
Yeah, I think it's a really good reminder that Penny was at one point considered like one of the best sort of top tier Jetts in NA, right? And he heard us talking about him last time where we said, you know, the G2 support players on the team needed to step up. He took that literally, Bach. He said, no, I'm literally stepping up. Put me on Jett. I'm going to show you guys how it's done. And he just popped off, had an amazing performance on Split. But there's also a lot more like macro takeaways. I think the calling for G2, their adaptations, so their calling in the first half were impeccable. And in the second half, they're so adaptable. Like, yeah, they had a really terrible start. Normally, you would think, oh no, we're getting PTSD. This is a terrible start for us in the second half. But they remind us why they have resilience. They remind us why they were champions at one point, and they actually brought it back together, the vibes, they brought back together the energy, and they showed up.
There is definitely a couple of reasons why everything seemed to be finally clicking for G2, but I feel like there's two things that I want to talk about. The first one being this G2 squad. They have run different compositions, different kind of ideas on Split, and one of them, it was a very similar composition to what Shopify was running at, trying to slow down the aggression composition with the Cypher, with the Sage. So you already have kind of the read on how the enemy team is going to play out. It was part of the reason why Shazam had such good reads in so many rounds. But the other part, I feel like massive, besides Penny and seeing him on Jett, it was Whippy on the Astra getting massive clutches, shutting down that ace and almost clutch that B-Dog was about to get, and making sure the momentum was going to be completely for the side of G2 in the later part of the half.
Even towards the tail end there, I think it was in that final round, you've got them rounding the front side of site on lane on B site. Whippy gets 2. Had he not gotten both those kills, that round probably goes the way of Shopify and the game continues on. And we would have been even closer and potentially going into overtime based on the way the econ was going to stack up. So it was a strong round from Whippy to shut things down in the instance that he did. And he did that several times in the past as well throughout that map. But it was their map pick. And we knew that coming into this, G2 was going to feel comfortable on Split. They have always felt comfortable on Split. The question is now, how do these teams stack up as we move into our third map in this best of 3? Because it's a map that we've seen pretty much every team play throughout the Challengers Splits 1 and 2 and the mid-season face-off. But it's one that we've had mixed results for with some of these teams, one of them being G2. At one point in time, G2 was so strong on this map, but in the second Split Triad, they were 0-3 despite 3 consecutive picks of the map.
It is interesting, this last map, and besides, you know, the scores that the teams have on this map, even recently for G2, which is kind of the asterisk that every map for G2 has had recently, at one point is they taking into account that for the past 6 best of 3 matches that G2 has had, 4 of them had gone to 3 maps, and those 4 they've lost. So when it comes to going the distance and closing out the series, that's when G2 has struggled recently, and I feel like Ascent is not going to be any different. Even taking into account the composition that we've seen Shopify running here, they run that Navi comp that not a lot of people are running, and you gotta wonder, how is the adaptation gonna be on the fly for Shazam to make sure that this map and the series will go their way?
Yeah, and to bounce off that as well, I mean, Shopify Rebellion's had a bit of a better record on the Ascent. They're actually 3-2, right? They have at least a 60% win rate on it. So statistically, at least, I think Shopify Rebellion's in a better side of the fence for sure.
Coming into the playoffs too, I think Shopify Rebellion was about 60-ish% attack side win rate. Compare that to an almost 20% win rate coming in, if I'm not mistaken, from G2. That's rough. So you have a team who's 20% win rate on the defense versus potentially almost 60% win rate on the attack. One has to assume that those two things don't go well together. But this series has proved to be one that is much closer than maybe some would have anticipated coming into it, partially because some would have thought G2 is still the G2 that won or got second place at the mid-season face-off. And others would think G2 has fallen off so steeply that they don't even stack up against any of the other teams currently playing in playoffs because of their current form. But it's proven to be that these teams are much more evenly matched than one would anticipate as we get ready for our third and final map in the series. I'm sure there's a little bit of disgruntledness coming in from Shopify Rebellion because they were in a decent position. Their mid-rounding was actually pretty good at times, some adjustments coming through as well. But they had a few rounds where they just couldn't quite find things. You saw them in a 4-player save at one point. It was a 4-on-5, and they couldn't find any openings. B-Dog had died early in the round, and they kind of ran out of options as a result. So now they move to this third map, and teams like Shopify Rebellion, or the formerly known as LG, we've seen a history for the players on this roster where best of threes end against their favor in a matter of 2 rounds. And how hard is it to forget all of those best of threes over the last year for some of these players where it's like, man, if we just won like one other round, we would have won the game. But instead, we ended up in a third map, or on the third map, we ended up in that same situation and we let it slip. And it's definitely one that might be a little bit hard for them to shake off. Whereas on the opposite side, G2 seems to be in better spirits, at least Oxy. Dude's been all smiles. He's been having a good time. He's loving the experience right now. I actually love the energy because some players, you know, you can kind of read the faces super intense. Oxy just looks like he's having a good time here.
He's just happy to be here.
Yeah, I mean, can you blame him? I mean, young kid getting a chance to play in a LAN environment with his teammates, prepping for a spot to make it into Ascension, to play at a Brazilian LAN event for a chance to make it into VCT. I didn't have opportunities like that when I was his age, and I don't think any of us will have had that either. So that's impressive, and he's certainly got something to smile for. But Dryad, as we look at this third and final map, it's kind of like, is G2 still kind of stuck in the mire? Are they still the G2 who's been struggling, or are they finally starting to climb out of that muck?
You know, you want to believe that the second part of what you mentioned, right? Especially if you've been following G2, if you saw that mid-season face-off, if you listen to what Dapper was saying about the confidence that the squad has, even when they are in this kind of position for the last map, making that run through the lower bracket. But again, this composition that Shopify is running is very unique. Not a lot of people are running it with that Fave, with that Cypher as well. You see more that standard comp that G2 plays. And so that's my main point here, is what team is going to be able to adapt better. And I feel like as of early into the half, it's got to be Shopify, and that can be the momentum that can take them to the finish line.
Well, we do have our casters standing by. Again, this is a third and final map for these teams. The winner will move on in the lower bracket, and the loser will be eliminated and will have to wait until next year to play through challengers. A brutal time off. Plenty of things to think about in that time as well, but we'll see who's going to be walking away with the win. We've got our casters standing by. Sully, Upmind, what do you think?
I don't know what to think. I'm personally just extremely scared for both of these teams. They are both one map away from elimination in playoffs. And for G2, it would be nothing short of an embarrassment from mid-season face-off second place to dropping out first round in the lower bracket. And for Shopify, it's not embarrassing, it's just a disappointment. After the split 2 that they had, there were high hopes for this team. But map number 3 is the decider. Their fate is on the line. Ascension, dreams, not even Ascension, is on the line. And Shopify and G2, the final battleground, it's an iconic map, I feel like, for third maps. It's Ascent, G2, Gus, 4 3-map series in Split 2, and they couldn't win any of them. Just so you know.
If you're looking for G2 to regain some of that glory from Split number 1 and from mid-season face-off, we're looking at Ascent. They went 4-0 at mid-season face-off on this map, 5-0 last season, beating M80, The Guard, and Oxygen. This is a G2 that used to love Ascent.
I love their full site hits. 3 seconds until all hell breaks loose on this A site. Vic caught up early, but he does get the smoke out right before the knife catches him. He's gonna skip over the trap wire, but one player gets caught.
Vic
tried to fight. Moose in the back is just gonna do what he can, but he goes down eventually as well. An effective entry from G2, overwhelming the Shopify defense.
Very chaotic, but the good thing was that Moose had no chance in actually fighting back there with Vic. And Oxy actually strikes back through the smoke, and Vanity, he pops out too. Whippy takes back Mata. Now it's all on Vanity. Vanity just looking to inch his way out, pulls out whatever utility he has, 49 HP remaining. But this is going to be a round here for G2.
Quick. Painful from G2, to be honest. I was going to say painless. No, very, very quick onto that A site. A comp that they've been running pretty standard. They don't really, this is a very standard composition. They ran it against Oxygen the other day. Sad to see that Penny isn't on the Jet. I was just telling you in the green room, I was like, dude, I just keep Penny on the Jet, bro. Dropped like 23 kills on Split, was insane. But he's going to go back to his traditional KO, which, he's pretty good on, but I don't think he's going to get the same fragging potential. Oxy, however, though, back to being that star duelist. And we're getting kind of everything we wanted out of this series. Players on G2 coming back to form. We got a good show of Oxy and a really, really good showing of Penny between those first 2 maps. And for Shopify, it's the same thing. B-Dog, I think, came alive really, really heavily alongside Vic and Mata as well in that first map. And second map maybe cooled down a little bit. But when you need your players in top form in a high-pressure match like this, everyone has come alive across these 10 players.
All that you could ask for, especially for a G2 team that has always been asking of more and more of their players throughout this split. Actually starts off not too bad here for Shopify, by the way, as we get back into the round where Vanity is able to get one back, but 3 players survive for G2. But yeah, G2, they've always been a team that has always asked more of their individuals. Of course, leaning on Oxy, working off of him a lot in split number 1. But now G2, everyone has shown sort of that glimpse that we saw from Shopify in split number 2. Again, it's about putting those pieces together.
Yeah, they will continue to lean on Oxy quite a bit in this map.
Is a nice spot.
You can see how crucial he is for these entries. They're going to attempt again the A site, it looks like, with his Judge. Shopify, I think the big mistake that they made on the split on that offensive side was not being willing to close the gap against this aggressive G2 side. And what worked against them versus M80 was a lot of like shark trap plays, set hits over towards A main and B main. I wonder if we'll see some of that from Shopify in trying to quell the G2 aggression.
Turrets destroyed.
Prowler going very, very deep with this. A really deep, actually, alarm bot set up by Dapper, which gets him a lot of early info. The Allodrone getting broken. Do they expect Vic to be in a position like this? He's got a really good position as well to get the info.
Especially because he already TP'd back. I think that potentially he could have inched his way back over towards A main, but G2 doesn't care.
Looking at a massive gap here towards mid. G2, they don't know that there's no one towards mid. Otherwise, if there's no Sentinel here, it's very easy to exploit this mid position. And that knife catching absolutely nobody. They're going to expect only a tripwire here, but there actually will be nothing. So Shopify kind of have to be on their toes when it comes to a mid play right now.
They found my
Moose is going to be the one watching at the mid side with just the cam. Shopify has no answer here. It's going to be 2 players in the middle of site, and now they actually know where Vanity is. Moose and Vanity somehow need to scramble. And Vanity goes down in a flash, but Moose is here to fight. Huge first frag coming out from Moose, and he has a whole lot more to go. 3 players in front of him. He's got 1, but only, no, he actually does get a trade back from B-Dog. 1v1 here. And Whippy has to come in. It's fast. 10 seconds.
Miles away.
10 seconds
Yeah,
left.
there's no way. 9 seconds left. He slips through. B-Dog just has this trap now. Whippy trying to find a headshot through the wall, but it's not going to happen. B-Dog played it right. Whippy was just way too far away.
An extremely costly round, though, nonetheless. For some reason, every single, full buy round that Shopify first have, G2 were, they were ripping guns out of the hands of Shopify. And it's another costly one in this instance, and it's going to hurt a lot more because they don't have the bonus cushion. They're not going to have the best buy. Few players are going to have rifles, and the rest are going to have to work with shotguns, stingers, specters. And yeah, Vanity's not going to have the gun they want. They're literally just barely able to scrape a buy together. And B-Dog's not going to work with full util. Thankfully, the key players are, though, but still, that's a very, very painful round.
Yeah, this is all or nothing here for Shopify. And they've already faltered. E-Dog all the way out in the open. Dapper strikes.
Lockdown on mine.
There's info all the way over towards A, but like you said, Lockdown is here to sweep B if they want it.
Just hold that control with his alarm bot again. Waiting for his team to rotate through Vanity. This is cheeky as ever. He's gotten aggressive, but the turret is going to catch him off guard, but he's on a very, very fast flank at the moment. The turret is going to play really spoiler to everything here. They need to get a pick on a Dapper, or the knife at least from Mata needs to catch him to give him that flank opportunity, so he doesn't get it. He decides to rotate the other way.
Coming right out is Vanity, like you mentioned. Out of market, he ends up getting one big kill, but here comes Oxy looking to sweep a little bit. There's two players over towards main, and this is just a meat grinder.
Oxy, giving life to this G2 side. He's playing unreal right now. 7-2 in 4 rounds, and he has been ridiculous with his entries. Like, you remember the boathouse flyover that he had?
Yeah.
He's doing it again, and this time he's just taking the fight. Great flash as well coming out from Penny, who was just on fire on the jet. G2 are finally starting to click, and it's showing in the way that they're taking these players out.
Now Shopify, they might have actually made the right read here. There's 5 players here on A.
Okay, we'll see what they've got cooking, if anything at all.
That's surely nothing, but pistols can combine. They could be a bit cheeky here. G2, again, just want to make things look clean here. If they're actually somehow able to get this information, hopefully they just run on away. Book it to the hills. But here comes Oxy already on the front side. Penny actually strikes down on another one. What a setup here from G2. So overwhelming. Where it's left now, Moose in a 1v5, and then it's a flawless.
No chances at all there for Shopify. Normally 5 stacks on ecos are extremely scary, but G2 just systematic in that clearance. Again, Oxy paving the way for his team. 9-2 in 5 rounds, and Shopify, yeah, take a breather. Because Oxy is stealing your breath away right now. There's nothing you can do to stop that guy right now. I don't think Shopify are looking for any answer. Again, the one thing that I've always felt has lacked on this Shopify team, and something that has just traditionally lacked in Vanity's calling, is aggression. In this meta, you need to take early fights, and that's something that Shopify have typically strayed away from in almost all capacities. And so I think the switch up here for Shopify is, yeah, we kind of need to push the issue on Oxy. We're giving him space to make these entries happen, and why not cut down the angle? This isn't a map that G2 are infamously known for just full hitting sites over and over again like Split. This time around, they do run default, and we can win those early fights if we're smart about it.
You want, of course, to put in that action here on this defensive side, though. If you're Shopify, I'm actually still very fearful of G2 on that defensive side. The better sides, or at least the better looks that we've seen from G2 later on in this split, have come on the defensive side, mainly off of the fact that we get to see a much better, a much more unlocked Penny and Dapper.
A pretty big mid-split play, it looks like. A knife from Penny. It looks like it's going to lean straight over towards Market to get space. B-Dog to get forced off the angle. They just saw the hand in B-Dog. That's all he ever needs if he wants to kill.
Targets destroyed.
And it's Oxy to take it down despite the carelessness from Penny.
That almost crumbled, though. It could have been a double. B-Dog still looking for a lot more. Almost getting... Oh my goodness, how is he down to 33 HP? Still almost getting the shot over. In market, Vanity has to hold it back.
Just Moose in the back lines. That Nightfall is going to buy just a couple of seconds, but look how quick everyone in Shopify has gone to the back lines. Defender spawn, but spam through a wall. Dapper catches another.
Moose
just spotted one.
He's trying to give himself a chance, but no, nothing. Scrambled. But G2, they're actually all locked into sight here. This is a 3v3 somehow.
Dasher B-Dog, 33 HP. He can't go over, so he's got to go with his team. And no util on any of these players for G2. Vic has got a paranoid to lead in. Mata's got a nade to clear out backside. B-Dog has to win this fight. The smoke timing might cost Whippy his life. He's barely alive. No! And because of it, Whippy steals another double. This guy is ridiculous with his double kills.
4 HP, and he was able to do that. Shopify As if we did not just see a mental reset from them, stacking 5 into a site and still losing the round. But the round after, Shopify with the right positioning, with a 3v3, with a man down to 4 HP, they couldn't pull it off.
And now they've got 4 ultimates, but that was the round to win. You needed that round, not for your economy, for confidence. You saw that it was a very tense room in those player cams.
Oh.
And now they're going to try to do something dashing, something daring. It's B-Dog who goes up and over. Just for 1, but still with a lot lesser guns. You still fear for Shopify's safety in this round. G2 calm despite that first blood not going their way.
They get that info very quickly too. Still spotting
like
2
this.
over towards A main. But there's nothing covering mid.
There's a huge gap towards mid. And this is the thing. I don't care how clean this round is from G2. What they're going to realize after this round is nobody plays mid. Nobody. They have a singular cam in Boathouse, and that's it. Mid is going to be free real estate. And I think G2 will realize that moving forward.
Give me those back.
Big. Huge kill from B-Dog.
B-Dog steps on forward though. Nobody else from G2 had actually made their way up. They're gonna take that info into the future rounds, but they need this round. They have Shopify down to an eco.
Dapper is just going to get it to the site with the rest of his team. They know players are coming towards mid.
30
Just buy
seconds
time
left.
for the spike plan. Oxy on fire. Oxy on fire. And Oxy continuing to heat up as he goes for another peek.
Could have gotten a whole lot more there, as we're used to there from Oxy. Dapper needs to go big though in this off angle. There goes the first contact potentially from Shazam. But Shazam does take back the round now. 2 kills for Shazam! He's won it out from beyond the grave!
How does Shazam do that? Him and his shock darts on this map of Ascent, I just got flashbacks to his double shock from A main.
We've seen it before, but not on the fly.
And it does, it's so reminiscent of the shop, or not, apologies. The Molly that saved Moist Moguls yesterday. And look at the faces of G2. They know they just got away with highway robbery, even though that round should have never been stolen from them.
Now El Capitan steps up at the right moment. Now Shopify, right win. They would have gotten so much momentum back into this half. Now they're on the verge of yet another reset. As G2 kind of decompress from that last round. A lot more of a default look that we're seeing once again. And this time we're seeing Dapper.
I just hate this exec. Like, I hate this for, or apologies, this hold from Shopify. You're just letting them walk on your doorstep, and they will take full site control. And where G2 thrive, for what we've seen so far, is these post plans. And Oxy's been given space. Oxy's been given time off of this Hunter's Fury, which collects even 1, 2, 3 tags. And bodies are just starting to pile now for Shopify.
This is just looking like a trademark G2 dub from what we've seen so far in split number 2. But Shopify, they're not done. 3 players trying to burst out, trying to waterfall in. Penny has the first. Cage is going to go down soon. And even then, 14 HP. And Penny's still able to get another one.
Just can't give these guys the sight. Shopify are just letting G2 walk up to them, knock on their door, bust it down, and take control of their homes. It's an invasion right now from G2 on either side. No mid control, no A main or B main control. G2 are doing as they want right now on this map. And another eco from Shopify is not going to help their case at all. A 5-man push from G2 towards B is going to just cause even more issues for Shopify.
Get out of my way.
Maybe. Let's see what they can actually do with this hold.
So
Get banded back
aggressive.
into sight. No, this is just classic here. Oxy in a playground, and he's able to pick up 2 out of it. Pretty much 3 for his teammates were able to get the free trade off of his body. Of course, Shopify just didn't have a chance going into the round to begin with.
Nothing you can do if you're Shopify. The G2 steamroll is working here. This is the G2 that everyone missed in Split 2, and everyone missed in that first playoff match. Better late than never, G2. They've arrived in the scene at 8-1. Oh my gosh, Shazam is back on top with Oxy. That's a sight that we haven't seen in a minute.
Actually, this season, this split, it's only been these two, actually. Shazam and Oxy have been the only two players for G2 that we can really give compliments to throughout this split number 2. And they're popping up again. They're peaking at the right moment again for this team.
Beautiful sight if you're a G2 fan. Sorry sight if you're a Shopify fan.
Blocking sight.
Poutine out there in Toronto.
Oh.
It's not looking good, especially off of that first kill. Dapper just won another B main fight as well. I can't fathom Shopify pulling a comeback here in this second half. It's all about the reset in that in the second half, I should say, is where the reset happens. In this first half, there's no comeback to be had right now. And Dapper's got the lockdown. Or they say sight, and nothing to stop it, nothing to cancel it out. How much do you want to bet? And I have a feeling Vic is just going to get his head ripped off here. Like, I don't think I've ever seen it happen on that jump spot, but I think it'll happen here. I have a feeling.
Who's going to be the one to actually shoot it, though?
I don't know.
Oh, it's probably going to be Oxy, isn't it? Here he goes, dashing on in. He's actually just looking for the backside. He's looking to make Jenny chaotic. There's a man over in hell. And Oxy is looking to burst through again. Vic hasn't gotten the kill yet. And there's Vic. Gets the first. He can get a couple more. He's holding it down. Second kill from Vic. He has a whole lot more work to do. Moose is here to help out. There's a flank coming in too. 1v3 for Moose. Moose knows where the second one is, but not the third. But couldn't get to the third to begin with. Yet another round from G2.
Dapper was on his back anyways. 9-1. G2 are steaming towards that lower bracket run. And they are still alive. Map 1 was shaky. They got the answers. We got our, we got our questions answered by G2. Shopify leaving a lot left to be desired right now. 4-man peek towards B.
4?
Shopify, a play, flash, a fade, haunt, anything to try and make it happen. But Shazam finds 2. And Dapper's just gonna run for the hills. And that turret's just putting in work against Vic right now. Where do you TP to? Back to the A site. Oxy's got space. Doesn't matter right now.
Oh. Oh no!
Bro, there's just no way.
What? There's no way that Moose actually gets that kill. 2v3, Vanity and Vic. Still alive and still attempting this. They're trying to come out with a Prowler. They don't know about the man in hell, but they definitely don't know about the man in cap, but it doesn't matter! Oxy strikes him down. Double digits for G2 and the half isn't over.
You are truly just watching this game and you're just expecting G2 to win gunfights. Like, there was a plethora of util. They tried to do that B main push that I was mentioning that M80 did against some that maybe we might see. But in those situations, like, I just have full confidence G2 will win those gunfights. Again, a team that relied heavily on their ability to win those fights. Their ability in these team fights. It is shining through in every single fashion against a battered Shopify Rebellion right now.
One more round to go. Only consolation here, essentially, for Shopify. And they've already started off with a big kill through the smoke from Oxy. The lockdown is just going to give him the red carpet into sight. What can Shopify do here? Less options as Shazam shuts down Mata in mid. No lurker now. Vic can still come up from Cat. But G2, they have rolled A once again.
What do you want Shopify to do? What can they do now? Oxy underneath. 3 players, apologies, against 5 right now, and they have got no space on A.
Here comes the actual hold. Oxy does it again. Now he pulls out the knives just to pour some salt right onto the wounds.
Oh my God.
It's all over. The half has slipped completely out of the hands of Shopify Rebellion, and G2 are now only 2 away from the next round.
And to be honest, it's just gotta be the game. Surely this is the game, and this is advancement and a playoff hope for G2.
We've just never seen this sort of comeback in an A.
Never. 4 series, G2 were pushed to 3 maps, or I should say they pushed to 3 maps, and not a single one could they win. They are now 2 rounds away from sending Shopify packing, and G2 a chance, revival in this lower bracket run. This is insane. 9 rounds in a row, 11-1. This round is all but the pinnacle of Shopify's challengers' lives.
Where are you?
It's going to be Penny on the front side to try to challenge it, but he backs up immediately. It's going to be a 3-man hold of Cat, and they actually burst out with the flash. But it's only 1 kill that they're able to get back. Still the rest of G2. They've actually made their way back towards site fairly quickly. 2 over towards Heaven, but Dapper gets traded out immediately. Player over towards Cat. He's already been spotted, or at least he's been heard. Whippy looking for a gap. There's actually some decent HP. Knocked away from Shaw. What was that? Vanity just dropping on in. Shazam giving himself a chance. But we move on.
Low HP on a lot of those players as well. That was not looking safe whatsoever there if you're Shopify. But they stay alive. 2-11. You can't call it a comeback until they at least win a rifle round. And they do not have room to mess about with. For now, though, Shopify have got guns in their hands and a dream in their head to try and pull this series back, to pull this map back. And their story, it has to be written here. It has to be written now. Backs against the wall, Gus. 1 mistake sends them home.
For Shopify, who can step up potentially on this side? Everyone has to, of course. E-Dog, seen the stats come out of him already in this series, but where has been Vic? Moose was singing his praises. I mean, the only point of improvement really that he had. What was the reasoning behind your success in this split? And he just straight up said Vic. But for good reason. We can see that top tier form from the man. Shopify could actually sincerely have a chance. Classics do dwindle. 1 kill back for Dapper. Shopify just looks to clean this one up, looking to move on.
And there's one man, that I think if anyone is putting their money on to pull them back, it has to be B-Dog. It has to be B-Dog.
And why not?
4K in this round, some glimmer, some hope, a chance for this team. It's faint. Light at the end of the tunnel. It's so far away. And it is so dim. But when there's light, there are people willing to make the treacherous journey there.
I'll find you.
And it's got to be them. Shopify. Up against the full buy of G2. The comeback doesn't start until you win a rifle round. And this is the one they have to win. This is the one they must win. Damage onto Moose that can't be healed up. That hurts. And Oxy, who's played confident.
He's alive.
A little bit too confident here. Just gets barely gets away. But that's a big fight for Shopify. They've pushed those players off of B main and now off of mid. So now they hit. They know 2 players leaning towards B. There's got to be 1 extra on the B site. They can hit this A site with relative confidence that this is the weakened site.
What's the hold gonna be like though? Penny still has the nade. Potentially hold back. At least a little bit of this hold. Is he gonna delay? No nade coming out just yet. It's just gonna be the 2 players in that back line. Even Shazam pulling out a shock, or excuse me, a recon, just to try to get some info. It's a bloodbath again! Shazam knocks down 2 and he's looking for more. And it's all just G2. Moose, last one remaining in a 1v5, 27 HP. 1 more rifle round potentially here for Shopify, but G2 makes the first one flawless.
G2 are golden to continue this lower bracket run. Now it truly is 1 mistake. 1 mess up, and Shopify are out of playoffs. It's a miracle that they were even here. It took a massive upset over M80 to push them to this line. And it was G2's success in Split 1 and the mid-season face-off that kept them in playoffs. And it's kept their hopes alive of Ascension. They're not done just yet. Shopify have the buy. Shazam switches the site. Shazam looking for the kill. Shazam will get it.
Shazam, the human turret, shuts down B-Dog. Nobody else is able to slip their way through. but a kill does come out through the smoke from Shopify. If they do readjust here, there's 2 players flanking right now, and Shazam continues to spray away. Mata, the last one standing in a 1v3, here for the Rebellion, but a pump to the face does it. G2, their run will not be remembered for the wrong reasons.
Would you have it end any other way besides Oxy, the youngster, the star, the hero of this team, to close out that series? And look at G2. They have finally broken the 7-series loss streak here today. Their first best of 3 that went 3 maps. They finally won it since Split 2. No words for G2 besides today. They got it done. Individually, they stepped up. As a team, they played together. There were mistakes, but for now, they can rejoice.
Yeah, that split map, we finally did see G2 be able to break through at that mentality of Shopify Rebellion. But gosh, that third map, we finally saw the G2 of Split 1, essentially, where we saw that Ascent prowess. Again, going 5-0 on Ascent in Split number 1, 0-4 in Split number 2 on Ascent. So there you go, flipping the script at least a little bit. The hope is there for G2. For Shopify, their run is over. They are eliminated, and they won't be playing any official Valorant until next year.
Yeah. Condolences to Shopify. Is there hope for G2? Are we huffing the copium? Analyst Stats are going to throw things to you guys. Let me know if I'm just a believer or if I'm a little bit crazy.
Massive amounts of copium, but I understand it. That's the first time we've seen the G2 we remember. Go back to Split 1, go back to mid-season face-off. That's the G2 we got to see in those events. A much more tactically sound team working together as a unit. You have the individual pieces shining through. Look at the way that Oxy played in that third map, and then not only that, Dryad, look at the way that Shazam played. 26-6, 416 ACS.
Shazam on this map turned into a demon, and we saw it early on. This guy looked unstoppable. This round with the shock dart was everything to me, and I feel like it is exactly what we all wanted to see from G2. We knew the potential that this team had. We knew how confident they can be, and that is the confidence that we saw today, especially from Shazam and Oxy. When they had to go peak and go for that full confidence to get those kills, they were doing just that, and this is very difficult to do on the attacking side, where we saw 9 rounds in a row, so one-sided, giving no chance for the side of Shopify in the second half.
Yeah, G2's flow state is so blatant, guys. Like, as soon as you see them entering flow state, like, they're in that flow state. Like, the way Shazam was calling, their mid-rounding, it was all so fast, constant pace changes. And when they're not flowing, you could easily tell. But it's just a matter for G2 is, how do we keep this flow? How do we continue to play at this level? Because when they're playing well, when they are actually flowing, they're an insane looking team. They're scary. They're explosive. They have great mid rounds. They have a great lurker and Dapper. Like, they're getting things done on the map constantly, and it's just so hard for the other teams to catch up.
One of the things we were talking about too was that, their defensive side win rate was low in that second split. It was not good. It was almost 20%. That it was like, well, if we just don't give them any opportunities, we're fine. Their attacking side was great. I think that overall, G2 just looked like they were on a whole different level here when they finally got back to the state that we know they're capable of. This is, seriously, it's like, this is very reminiscent to Split 1. This is very reminiscent to the mid-season face-off. This is how the start of their run was. They were dominant on the maps they were good at, and you can see that there. 416 ACS. That might actually be on par with numbers we saw put up by Koala, playing a completely different role going back to Split 1 when he had a very similar performance as well. We saw it from the gun. We saw it from the shock darts as well. There was like a clutch moment with a shock dart winning right at the tail end of a round. It just felt like everything was landing in their favor. Even the number that we didn't know what it meant until like a few days ago, the econ rating for Shazam was 122. That's dollars spent for 1,000 damage or something like that. I forget the actual statistic. I think it's damage per $1,000 spent. That's what it was. So 122 damage per $1,000 spent. Number 1 in the server. Incredible performance coming in from Shazam, the in-game leader for G2. Again, one of the best players for G2 in Split 2, and he steps up when they absolutely need him to, and he crushes the hopes of Shopify Rebellion, who now are eliminated. We're going to go ahead and throw things to a break. We'll jump into the post-series highlights. When we come back, we'll be jumping into the post-match interview. Stay tuned.
One enemy remaining. One enemy remaining. One enemy remaining. One enemy remaining. Down B. One enemy remaining. Spike down B. One enemy remaining. One enemy remaining. 30 seconds left. Few seconds left. Last player. One enemy remaining. One enemy remaining. One enemy remaining.
Check your calendars because it is not Split 1. It is not G2 making a repeat run. This is not a rerun of the mid-season face-off. This is G2 again in a similar position that they were in last time, making a run through the lower bracket, and it starts here with a win over Shopify Rebellion. It was a bit bumpy at first, but they closed things out in dynamic fashion, crushing Shopify Rebellion's hopes there in the final map of Ascent, which means it's time for the post-match interview. And we're going to bring in Imi, the coach of G2, to talk things over. I mean, congratulations on the win. I'm sure map 3 felt a little bit better than maybe some of the other ones, but congrats nonetheless.
Thank you. We need one.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a bit of a rough run. You guys came out of mid-season face-off. You lost to M80 in the finals, but not really a big problem. You get second place, and it's been loss after loss after loss since then. What has changed since mid-season face-off? Why all of a sudden is the team just not vibing?
I mean, if I go back to the start, for me, it's forget about Split 2. I don't care about it anymore. But for everyone else, we took a little bit of a break, and then Dapper's internet was down, so we had like no practice in the first 2 games. So I was like, okay, whatever. We've got no practice. We lost them. It's fine. We're already qualified. It's not a big deal. But then we lost again, and we were like, oh, maybe we should try and pick ourselves up. But it just felt hard to give like 100% when you knew you'd qualified, I guess. I'm not too sure, but we went to a boot camp straight after Split 2. And since then, we've been unreal. Like the effort, the practice, everything has just been top quality. And then we went into the Oxygen game, and we were super confident, but they just played really well.
Yeah, that was actually something I noticed. Like, you had even tweeted out, like, there's no copium left. I don't know what the deal is. Like, you felt really confident coming into that game, but it didn't work out. As a coach, not only is it hard to watch, these close series like you just watched here, but how hard is it to like know everything's there? Like, you've got the foundation laid. It's just not working when it comes to game day.
I mean, it's super hard. It's the thing you always have as a coach, right? You're not in control. You set the game plan. You do everything. Like, I'm not perfect. I'm sure my game plan is not perfect. And who's perfect in life, right? Mm-hmm. But when you've got no control and you're just watching, it's stressful. It's very stressful.
Now, I've been a little bit critical of the team, mostly more recently, just because I know what this team is capable of. I know the talent level. I know the experience level that these guys bring to the table. And I'm sure you probably feel very similarly to some of us after watching the last couple of games play out. But map 3 felt like G2 that we remember from Split 1, G2 from the mid-season face-off. Like, they'd broken free of the shackles and the team was back to their previous form. Do you feel the same way? Do you feel like the team was basically doing what you always expected them to do?
Yeah, I mean, we're struggling with, like, even in the first map, like, defense side was great on Bind, right? And then you go on to attack, and our attack's been insane, but we're hesitating. We're just, like, there's some nerves, I guess. I'm not 100% sure, but the hesitation's there. And then going into the second and third, I just said, guys, just stop caring. Like, why are we caring so much? Because if we keep caring so much, we're going to keep making mistakes. We're going to keep hesitating. We've just got to go flow state. You're all amazing at the game, so just use your instinct, use your intuition. Yeah, we have a game plan, but it's not the be all and end all, right? You've got things happen. You've got to take your space. You've got to take your fights. And obviously, I know you mentioned Ascent, but even Split having Penny on Jet just allowed for that freedom to just express yourself.
That was actually something I wanted to ask you about, because we've actually talked about it more so off broadcast than on, but just Penny's kind of interesting position on the team, given that Penny made his name as a player, as a Jet main. It was really what he was known for. That was his bread and butter. But now he's playing more of a flex role for you guys. And maybe it's kind of hurt his performance a little bit on an individual level. And it hasn't always felt like it works perfectly for him, but obviously it's a sacrifice for the purpose of the team. We got to see him play Jet back on Split, and it was like, oh my gosh, he's still got it as Jet. Like, clearly the dude's still just feeling it on the map. Is there a chance we'll see more of his Jet moving forward?
Maybe. I can't say yes or no, but maybe. But Penny is like the best teammate you could wish for. He's doing all the hard roles, and when you're losing and you're doing those roles, your stats aren't going to shine. But Split 1, he was amazing. So
yeah, I think one of the things we were talking about today, we were looking at the stats and like, yeah, maybe his ADR and his ACS is low, but his assist per round is high, which is really the number you need to care about when you're looking at someone who's playing like a flash initiator, someone whose job is to literally set somebody else up. It's thankless. It's brutal. It can make your stats look terrible, but he still facilitated the role nicely. It's just, he's like, man, I know that he can do it. I want to see it. I want to see more of it.
Yeah.
But do you have one more question for you? And this one comes from the fan zone. You guys watching at home are probably like, what's the fan zone? Because you haven't been watching the show. You can join at pks.gg/fanzone. This one actually comes from our CG operator, First Night MD. Why does Oxy have 2 headsets?
Well, he has his old headset that he loves and he wouldn't let go, but the mic was a bit of an issue on it, and he really didn't want to use a new headset just yet, so he's using the mic from one headset and then using the headset for the sound off another.
It's like LAN environments of yesteryear with headphone sponsors where you'd have the players on stage wearing 2 different headsets and it looks incredibly uncomfortable. Yeah. Well, I mean, maybe we can get him a new headset that works and maybe a mouse pad too, because I'm pretty sure I saw something on Twitter and his mouse pad's looking pretty nasty, if I remember correctly. I know you're not feeling well, but congratulations on the win. Hopefully it lifted your spirits, and we'll follow with some physical ailments relieving themselves as well. Congratulations on the win. Best of luck moving forward against the Guard.
All right. Thank you. Hopefully see you again.
Yes. A big congratulations to G2, because even though someone might look at this on paper and just go, oh, it's just a lower bracket win. Imi mentioned it. It's a big win. It's like, man, we just needed that so bad. We needed to get into the mindset that we can still do that. We can still win. And you heard him use the word flow state. Strong Legs was saying the same thing. They just sort of disconnected and just went into this mindset of like, let's just play our game and not focus on all the outside distractions. And it clearly pays off, and they'll be moving on to the lower bracket to face off against the Guard. We do have another match coming your way in just a minute, but first we're going to throw things to a quick break. When we come back, it's another elimination match. FaZe Clan fighting for their chance to survive a little bit further. They'll be facing off against Oxygen in that lower bracket should they win, but TSM is standing in their way. We'll be back after this.